Greetings, lovely people, and welcome to Fast Track 4. Today we're going to be talking about The Boys, Season 3, Episode 2, The Only Man in the Sky. And oh boy, this one's a biggie, so spoilers ahead for the episode, and let's just get right into it. So we start, as I kind of said last time, as so many of these do, with another Vought Studios film production, whatever. And this one is actually based on Deeper, which obviously is the book that was brought up by The Deep in the last episode. And yeah, it's basically like a dramatized retelling of like his time at the cult that he was in during last season mostly, called Not Without My Dolphin. It's dumb, but it's one of those things where it's like it's trying to get The Deep back into people's minds, as you know is so often the case with everything that they do. But yeah, it's Homelander's birthday, or the birthday he's been given, and thus it's time for his birthday celebration. And yeah, at the same time, Homelander is dreaming about taking V24. He's like hallucinating about it, it appears, but no, he's just dreaming. And for some reason, just a random teen talks to him in this dream. Like, at first it's Homelander, and it switches to be a teen. Like, in the credits, it's just teen. So I don't actually know if it's supposed to be like a grown-up Ryan, or like or someone else. It just says teen in the credits. I don't recognize them to be a different character or anything, so interesting. He wakes up to a Skype call from Ryan, which is cute, and we get pointed out that there is a video that I'll get to a little bit later, because it doesn't get touched upon until later in the episode. But yeah, Stormfront is not doing well. She's basically catatonic. She can barely move. She can barely blink. And yeah, Homelander is like, are you gonna wish me happy birthday and stuff, or at least like, could you just blink to say you wish me happy birthday and stuff? She just can't. She's just unable to do anything. So eventually he's just like, okay, that's fine, sort of thing. He doesn't get angry or anything. He just kind of accepts it as just like, you're not well, it's fine, sort of thing, which is really interesting for Homelander, because that's not how he acts normally. But as he leaves, Stormfront cries a single tear, and yeah, that's set up for later, but we'll get into that. So Red River, as we discussed in the last episode, is a Vought care home for soup children, I think. It does get more. I'll get more into that in a second. But like at this point, I'm like, is it? And basically, Huey just doesn't want to call Butcher in on it because it could be dangerous, like the whole Newman situation. Starlight has to do a sound check, so she can't go with Huey initially. She tells Huey to stay, but she needs to do a sound check for the Homelander thing. Homelander has actually changed the lines that she was supposed to be saying. I'll get into it in a second, but as I say, I always try and do these in chronological order of how it happens in the episode, so I'm jumping around a little bit. Butcher visits MM, Mother's Milk, whatever, Marvin. MM has info on Soldier Boy, but MM is still obsessing over Soldier Boy. And it's probably Butcher's fault, but yeah, he's just not doing well right now. So we have Frenchie and Kimiko going to Vaughtland, which has Maeve's inclusive kingdom, because obviously Maeve was outed to be a lesbian in the last series, or bi, or whatever she is. Kimiko wants to ride the roller coaster and gets distracted by some siblings that are having fun and stuff, and we find out later it's because she missed out on her childhood. Less to do with the actual like surroundings and more just that she feels bad that she didn't get to live that kind of life. But we find out there is actually a Soldier Boy live musical show at this theme park, which has Crimson Countess singing, and she's actually a performer, like that's what she does, she's a singer. After the show, she's seen taking coke, which is just basically what every soup does in the show when they're not on stage, other than like Homelander and Starlight. And she has a new song called Chimps Don't Cry, which is about how chimps don't cry, even though I'm pretty sure they do. But that's beside the point. Frenchie questions Countess, well, Kimiko pins her to the wall. Frenchie questions Countess. Countess kills a Homelander mascot, like straight up she uses her energy blast thing ability, and just accidentally, she misses Frenchie, and just kills someone dressed up as Homelander, which I hope is set up for the end of this season, but still. Those siblings from earlier are absolutely traumatized. They're covered in blood. And yeah, that's Vortland for you. So Huey smashes a jar because he can't open them. It's established earlier, and I think it was established last episode as well, that he kind of needs Starlight to open jars for him. He's not able to open jars. He smashes a jar by accident, cuts his hand open, and after he's bandaged himself up, he calls Starlight, but Supersonic picks up because Starlight is on stage with Homelander. Homelander makes Starlight sing Happy Birthday to him in like that Marilyn Monroe Happy Birthday to you, like the overly like sexual, like, you know how I mean. Is directly referenced that it's the JFK Marilyn Monroe thing. But yeah. Stan steps in to basically say she has control over what she does. Like, he's not going to allow Homelander to make her sing live on stage. And is just generally a savage towards Homelander. Stan is the only person with any control over Homelander, and it's amazing to watch every time. We're then introduced to the new development executive called Ashley, and her and other Ashley, the Ashley we've been following for a while, are pitched A-Train being rebranded in like a Black Lives Matter sort of way, or like trying to bring him back to his African heritage, his African roots sort of thing. And that includes both a docuseries about him, discovering his ancestry and stuff, which I think is a perfectly fine idea, though none of them seem to. But then there's also a video game about the slave trade starring him, which, yeah, let's just say it's a little bit more questionable. He also suggests there's going to be a suit redesign that he'll show off at Homelander's, birthday celebration. He's told it's a bad idea. He's told everything's a bad idea, and it was all a bad pitch. But we'll get into that later. Huey goes undercover at the Soup Daycare, the Soup Care Home, whatever you want to call it, Red River, that is, and he steals the database by applying to adopt a kid. That's going to end well. So he finds what happened to Nadia's parents. The father, at the very least, had her head blown up when Nadia was a child or a young'un of some description. But then Stan adopted Nadia, or Newman, or Victoria, whatever you want to call her. Stan adopted her, so to speak. And that's a big revelation right there. Butcher goes to a gun expo. Gunpowder is giving a talk there. He's an Alex Jones type, like a bit of a radical. I'm not going to get too much into that because it's politics I just don't care enough about to get into in this video. But yeah, we then have the revelation that Soldier Boy apparently abused Gunpowder in a way. This is rectified later. It wasn't like sexual misconduct or anything, because obviously Gunpowder was a teenager or a kid when he was with Soldier Boy. It was just a bit of rough housing essentially that went a bit too far. That's what it's set up. That's what it's said to be, like, officially in the end. Gunpowder tries to assassinate Butcher, and Butcher has his leg shot, which is oof. Gunpowder then ricochets a bullet like around like 6 posts, and manages to hit Butcher's face, like scars him, which is a weird look, I've got to say, but it's interesting. And so Butcher just sets off car alarms so he can get away, basically, because he's not going to win that fight. A gunfight with Gunpowder clearly isn't going to go his way. So yeah, there's a character, or a girl, I shouldn't say character all the time. A girl called Chelsea is going to commit suicide by jumping off a building. Just the boys things. And she is fortunate enough, quote unquote, to be Homelander's birthday save. So the big, filmed, publicized saving of someone that Homelander does on his birthday as part of his birthday celebration, or whatever you want to say. And then he finds out through a giant broadcast on a screen behind him that Stormfront has committed suicide. And they say that it's from biting her own tongue and bleeding out or something. I don't know how feasible that is. I'm not looking it up because I don't want to know, but that's the explanation they give, so that might be right, I don't know. And Homelander just snaps. Like, straight up, he breaks down, he rants a little bit, and then he makes Chelsea jump. Like, she is like, no, I've decided, you've given me... Because at first he was trying to help, and he did kind of give her this, like, belief in humanity sort of thing again. And then he's like, no, you are going to jump, I'm going to make you jump. And she does, and she hits the ground, because Homelander isn't going to save her anymore. And, yeah, that's dark on so many levels, but moving on, we go back to he burns some food, he gets angry with the, with everything, basically, and, just generally gets a bit aggressive. He doesn't hurt his daughter or anything, but his daughter is a little bit shook at first, and eventually just comes over and hugs him. So, the daughter forgives, but it's not great. It's not a great thing for to have done. Huey is confronted by Newman, saved by Starlight there, fortunately, and they just basically discuss the findings that Huey made. Talks with his ex, and his ex basically tells him to join Butcher back, because is getting too stressed. He's upped his dose of medication and stuff like that, and it's just not helping. He's so obsessed with Soulja Boy, and it's probably Butcher's fault, but he needs to close the book on it. He really needs to just get it fixed, and so he does. That's what he goes to do. Frenchie has booked a trip to Six Flags with Kimiko, so they can go on the rides, and that's the point at which Kimiko's like, it's actually not about the rides themselves, it's about just not having a childhood and wanting to kind of experience that stuff. Which, I mean, fair enough. And say she isn't and can't be normal because of her powers, because of Chemical V, So it's one of those things that, it's a sad realization, but, they discuss her brother a little bit more and stuff like that. It's very much, baggage from last season, and it wasn't a plotline I was that interested in, so I'm going to move on from it. Butcher tends to his injuries and watches Ryan's vid, which is a stop motion with his now dead mother's voice from presumably like a call or a voicemail, something like that, talking over it, which is very cute. It's very nice, but yeah, it is also very, very sad. But anyway, Huey calls Butcher and tells him the truth about Newman. And in the middle of this, Homelander mourns Stormfront. But then Huey says that they need to do it Butcher's way. So Butcher goes and faces Gunpowder, and he's clearly taken V24 because Butcher is bulletproof and invulnerable and super strong and just throws Gunpowder around like he's nothing. He beats the shit out of Gunpowder, who then eventually tells him that Soulja Boy died in Nicaragua in 1984, and Grace, as in the Colonel, was in charge of the CIA operation that Soulja Boy died during. Which is, oh boy, I'm looking forward to seeing the repercussions of that, because that's, ooh. But yeah, after getting the information, Butcher punches Gunpowder to death, and then lasers through his head, through a car, through a few other things, because, yeah, he has laser vision. He essentially has all of Homelander's powers, other than maybe flight, we don't know yet, when he's taken V24, which is ridiculous if it's the case. If Butcher legitimately is, like, that level of power, ooh, okay, that's a scary vision right there, and hopefully he can't get too much V24, that's all I'm going to say. So yeah, Supersonic has his live performance of his song. A-Train actually does wear his new costume, which isn't necessarily that bad. It's it's traditional stylings of African garb. Let's just put it like that. I don't know, I'm sure some people would be offended by it. I look at it, I'm like, I get it. I don't like it necessarily, but it's one of those things where it's like, if that's the whole angle he's going by, he's trying to rebrand himself as being someone that's connected to his roots, yeah, it is what it is. Homelander insults A-Train's fatness, which, A-Train, even when we've seen him with his full, like, stomach out, isn't big. Like, he's still a semi-athletic guy, like, so, yeah, Homelander's just being rude, honestly. Starlight announces the Starlight House Foundation, which is for the homeless and disadvantaged, and then a heckler calls out Stormfront's death while Homelander is on stage. He gets pulled away, but even though Starlight tries to keep it on track and talks about how Homelander is donating $10 million to the foundation and stuff, Homelander just kind of breaks. He just freaks out. He begins preaching about his superiority, and he actually radicalizes Todd in a way. And obviously Todd is MM's ex's new boyfriend, husband, whatever, partner of some description. And yes, that's going to be interesting. But, Homelander ends his speech by saying he's the real hero and that everyone needs him. So that's a turn. And it's an expected turn, but it's a turn. So, yeah, that is this episode. This was a lot to unpack, honestly. I said it last time, how there's just, my notes are so long for this compared to most shows that I cover. Oh, these episodes, there's so much happening so quickly, all the time. So much of it is worth noting at the very least, and I like to mention everything that I note because obviously it was worth it at the time to me to note it, so it was worth mentioning. But yeah, this is going a million miles an hour, and I love it, honestly. I'm really enjoying this. I haven't seen the consensus online because I'm trying to avoid spoilers for the first 4 episodes because I haven't watched them all. Obviously, I only watched 2 episodes so far. But yeah, this is a good season. I'm really enjoying it, and I believe there's already a 4th season announced to be happening or in the works or whatever. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, that is really all I have to say. This was just a great episode, and if you enjoyed my coverage of it, this episode of Fast Track Thoughts, well, if you did, like it, subscribe if you're new to here, and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. Either later today or tomorrow, not only will there be the, Miss Marvel episode 2, Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 4, 5, something like that, and then also tomorrow, as of this going up, there'll also be the new episode of The Boys covered, and throughout the rest of this week, up until Friday or Saturday, there'll be a new episode of The Boys covered every single day. A lot of content. If you're into this sort of content of me covering TV shows I'm watching, there's going to be a lot of it for a while. So I hope you look forward to that. But in any case, thanks for watching. I hope to see you again, and yeah, bye. It's been a long week. I feel like I could use a vacation. I can hardly think. It's like the worst song you